She clearly doesn't grasp what a quote actually is. Like, the whole purpose of quoting someone is to repeat their exact words verbatim. Not sort of what they meant, not almost there, and absolutely not my personal interpretation. If those aren't the words that came straight out of someone's mouth, it's not a quote. That's not controversial, it's just the definition. Yet somehow, here we are, flipping through an episode of The Twilight Zone. And while we're already ankle-deep in this circus of confusion, can we talk about the one thing that's been living in my head rent-free ever since I saw that board? Meeting clip? Tiffany's wig. Yeah, I said what I said. I don't know what type of adhesive was involved, but it was giving major I quit energy. I kept watching that footage thinking something was ... right. Like something on her scalp was losing the will to stay present. Then it hit me Sis's wig was backing up faster than someone ducking their landlord on rent day. It looked like it had given its 2 weeks' notice. Like it checked out and whispered, "This is above my pay grade." I keep rewatching, and it's not her words pulling me in, it's that hairline inching for the exit. If this mess had a title, it'd be Madam Mayor and the Vanishing Hairline, and honestly, I'd tune in every week. It was peak late-night IG live vibes, but in a public board meeting. And honestly, I was here for it. But I'll let you be the judge. Was that a slay or a slip? Press 1 if that hairline stood its ground. Press 2 if it clocked out halfway through the meeting. Now, onto the real disaster, that board meeting. Straight-up chaos wrapped in local government dysfunction. One guy got up and said anyone needing help could reach out to him or Keith Freeman, like 24/7, as if the village of Dalton runs a full-time support desk. Very tech startup energy, I'll give him that. Then Tiffany jumped in, passionately arguing that staff should still be paid even if forms weren't submitted correctly or deadlines were missed. And I quote, or at least I'll try to quote, she said, "You must pay to stop." Like, what? That sounds like something you'd read off a clearance hoodie at a truck stop and think it's deep. She dropped it like it was scripture, and I'm just sitting there wondering, stop what exactly? Logic? Her whole defense was that employees did their jobs and shouldn't be penalized because someone fumbled paperwork. And honestly, fair point. But then she tried to shut the whole discussion down like she was the final authority. Like it wasn't up for discussion. Like she was standing on a mountain, thunderbolt in hand, quoting herself. "Ma'am, this isn't your mixtape launch. You don't get to drop a one-liner and exit stage left. This is about public funds, not poetry night at the lounge. Thankfully, one trustee wasn't letting that slide. They pushed back, reminding everyone that actual ordinances were passed requiring the board to approve all hiring and firing decisions. Accountability. That trustee didn't hold back either. They flat out said government business shouldn't be dumped into inboxes over the weekend. This isn't a cousin's group chat, it's local leadership. You don't email game-changing decisions on a Sunday like it's a brunch invite. If it's that serious, handle it during business hours. With documents, with structure, with respect for the process. And the message was clear, this wasn't about attacking staff. It was about protecting the system. Because if there's no order, what are we even doing? You can't just go rogue and cross your fingers. One trustee even had to call Keith Freeman on a Sunday, just to figure out what was going on because the right forms weren't submitted in time. That's not what leadership looks like. That's emergency management without the FEMA budget. Now listen, this next part had me hitting pause and cackling. Did y'all see the man sitting next to Tiffany? The way he was looking at her? Please. That was, I'd leave my whole family for you, energy. It was giving I know your coffee order by heart vibes. This man was locked in, eyes glued, body turned, little smirk like he was waiting on a secret meeting in the parking lot. I don't know if that man is married, but the emotional side-eye in that gaze was loud. You cannot fake that kind of loyalty. That was soul-tied behavior. Anyway, back to the mess. Another trustee finally spoke up and said what everyone else was dancing around. This wasn't about stopping paychecks. It was about making sure the right process was followed. They made it plain, rubber stamping things, just to keep things smooth, is exactly how you go broke. And when that budget falls apart, it's not going to be Tiffany standing in the fire, it's the board members who'll get scorched. That's how this works. They'll be left with the mess while Tiffany's out there doing press runs about accountability. And honestly, they nailed it. Being on that board isn't about optics, it's about real responsibility. It's asking hard questions, making hard choices, and making sure public money doesn't get treated like play money. But instead, we've got Tiffany remixing quotes, tossing out catchy lines and acting like disagreement equals disrespect. No, ma'am, this isn't Sunday service. Nobody's hollering preach just because you raised your voice. So in short, sliding wigs, suspicious quotes, romantic tension, and people treating public funds like disappearing D-Miz. Buckle up, because this ride is just getting started. That another person chimed in thankfully with actual logic. They said all this drama could be avoided if folks just followed the rules and met their deadlines. They gave credit to the staff for being available on weekends, which was fair, but also pointed out that the whole always-on-call culture isn't sustainable. The real solution: build a system that functions during office hours so everyone's not running around in a panic at the 11th hour. But, of course, Tiffany had to pop back in because heaven forbid someone else has the final word. She said if the board had questions, they could have just called her or the administrator on Friday. Claims she's available 24/7, that her phone is never off, and that she's always in communication with Keith like, "Ma'am, that's not the flex you think it is." Constant contact doesn't mean efficiency, it screams dysfunction. And honestly, does Kamal know about these midnight text chains? Because something about that feels a little extra. But I'll keep it cute for now. Still, it's wild how someone who constantly talks about transparency and ethics is always locked in a private chat loop with the same man. I'm not saying she can't have close colleagues, but let's be honest. Kamal was the one rumored to be stepping out. The twist: Sis is the side. And I'm not even sure she knows it. Or maybe she does, and she's just choosing the delusion over the truth. Remember when she went on the radio swearing that Kamal had been trying to get divorced for 4 years? 4 whole years, girl. If it takes someone that long to file basic paperwork, they're not trying, they're avoiding. That's not love. That's a slow-motion car crash. And honestly, I'll never understand why Tiffany keeps tying herself to someone like that. She doesn't need him. She's got the personality, ambition, and network to stand 10 toes down on her own. But instead, she's chasing a man who couldn't locate integrity if you handed him a flashlight and a GPS. She's acting like she found a rare gem. But let's be real, he's cubic zirconia at best. Once upon a time, she was the prize. The goal, the catch, but somewhere along the way, Sis became the bag as in, the actual money. He's chasing the check, and somehow she turned into the direct deposit. I don't know how the tables flipped, but here we are. Now, let's get into her latest spiral. Tiffany is out here accusing the trustees of being lazy, saying they skip out on committee meetings, don't ask enough questions, and ignore the documents posted in the village's internal app. She keeps hollering, "It's all on the app." Like that magically solves everything? Girl, if the app actually functioned like you claim, we wouldn't even be in this mess. She uses it like a prop, and then comes the classic line, "If you need anything, just reach out." Then she tosses out her personal number like she's running a 24-hour village hotline. But when folks do reach out, ghost town. Nothing but smoke, circles, and rehearsed comebacks. Then she pivoted to the land bank issue, saying the trustees voted on things they didn't even fully grasp. She started flapping around this so-called paperwork about the Buy Black Housing program, the one promising free homes and $5,000 properties. Sighed she'd send it to everyone, did she? Of course not. Classic Tiffany. She strutted around waving the document like it was the gospel scroll, declared it public info. Then moonwalked off stage like it never existed. No copies, no links, no receipts. And yet, we're just supposed to take her word for it because she's the mayor. Ma'am, that's not leadership, that's a solo act to top it all off. She accused the board of misquoting a woman during a vote, insisting the woman never said what was on record. Meanwhile, Tiffany's out here pitching her housing project like she's some misunderstood genius. She keeps whining that her plan isn't getting a fair chance like it deserves. The same hype the land bank got. But let's be honest. Tiffany's idea of transparency is just trust me. That's not how government works. Especially not when you're asking people to fork over thousands for property deals surrounded by more red flags than a formula. One track dot. Now let's talk about those housing programs she keeps bragging about. The $1 and $5,000 homes. That fine print is a horror show. For the $1 homes, buyers need to have $20,000 in liquid funds, be licensed and bonded in Dalton, get a 90-day repair permit, and pass inspections. Oh, and if they fail any of it? The village keeps their $1,000 escrow. Just like that. You mess up, you're out $1,000. Oh, and it's a literal lottery. 75% of profits go to the investor, 25% to the village. Tiffany once said a private inspector saved her from buying a house with rotted floor joists. That could be admirable if it wasn't soaked in irony, because let's not forget. This is the same woman who once rented out a mold-infested, rat-ridden home with raw sewage leaking in the basement to a mother and her kids. And guess who stamped it as safe? One of her own people. Yes, someone from her inner circle signed off on that health hazard, but when she's the buyer, suddenly it's get a private inspector and don't take risks. The double standard is outrageous. She tells people to go get their own third-party inspections, but let's not ignore the fact that she's out here letting her friends approve disaster homes. And now she's claiming the village is profiting from this process? Come on. It's hard to believe this is about uplifting the community when she's clearly the one reaping the benefits and flipping the rules whenever she feels like it. Somehow, it always circles back to her. Now the $5,000 homes? That's a whole different trap. Buyers have to live there for 5 years, finish all repairs within 90 days, and pass not one but 2 inspections. Sounds doable, right? Until you realize Tiffany controls the permits. And what is she infamous for? Dragging her feet on issuing them so people can't even start the work. She builds the wall, watches you hit it, and then asks why you didn't. Finish the race. That's not just bad management, it's a setup. It's sabotage with a clipboard. At the end of the day, this all boils down to one thing: control. This is what happens when someone wants all the spotlight but none of the accountability. If something works out, she's front and center for the photo op. If it flops, suddenly it's everyone else's fault. But she still wants every ribbon cutting, every headline, every drop of credit whether she earned it or not. She always finds a way to paint herself as the savior, no matter how messy it gets. Now listen, we need to address the visual because this hairline deserves its own storyline. It's so far back, it's giving witness protection energy. Honestly, what do we even call this look? Hairline on strike? Or maybe suggest she bring it back to a respectful Eddie Winslow arc right above the brows where it belongs. If you caught that throwback reference, drop an Eddie W in the comments. It's giving sitcom intro or ELNESS. Anyway, stay classy or don't. You already know I won't. But even when I roast with love. Because mama still loves you, always. Peace.